Hey everyone, and welcome back to Pinned on Places. Dominating the rugged skyline of the Welsh marches, Ludlow Castle is a colossal stone giant that has stood at the crossroads of British history for over a millennium. Rising above the rushing waters of the river, this fortress was the capital of the borders, a site where the fierce military grit of the Norman conquest eventually fused with the opulent drama of the Tudor court. Ludlow's walls have been soaked in the ambitions of the uncrowned kings and the tears of tragic queens. Today, Ludlow Castle remains one of England's most architecturally daring ruins, where each crumbling archway and spiral stair tells us a tale of survival, betrayal, and the shifting tides of royal power. Ludlow is architecturally significant because it departed from the standard Norman Motte and Bailey design, opting for high-quality local siltstone from its very inception in 1085. This makes it one of the very first stone castles in England. Whilst you step inside the inner bailey, it reveals a number of buildings and it gives that initial wow moment. The first building you may notice is the rare round chapel that's situated perfectly inside the bailey. This is the chapel of St Mary Magdalene. It's hauntingly beautiful and is only one of 5 surviving circular nave churches in England. Built around 1140, its design was a deliberate status symbol, mimicking the Church of the Holy Sepulchre in Jerusalem to signal the de Lacy family's Crusader pedigree and their connection to the Knights Templar style. It was commissioned in the early 12th century by Gilbert de Lacy, the grandson of Ludlow's first owner, Walter de Lacy. In the late 16th century, the chapel was modified to have a second floor so that the rich didn't have to mix with the poor. New doors and windows were added at the same time. Though the church has been heavily damaged and worn with age, the richly carved arches and capitals make this small building one of the true highlights of early Norman architecture in the country. In the 14th century, the castle shifted from a fortress to a residence. The solar wing featured massive, ornate fireplaces and guardrobes that would drain into the castle ditch through internal shafts, which was a height of medieval hygiene. These rooms were once draped in vibrant tapestries to combat the damp Shropshire air. This part of the castle boasts some of the best and most impressive surviving medieval domestic buildings in England. The range was begun by Peter de Genville shortly after 1280 and completed by the early 14th century. It stands against the Norman curtain wall and gives access to the battlements. The core of the range is Roger Mortimer's Great Hall, reached by a set of stairs from the bailey. The Great Hall is lit by 3 large windows on both sides and is open to the rafters. Heat was provided solely by a central hearth, and below the hall is an undercroft that was used for storage. On either side of the Great Hall are wings with smaller chambers for accommodation. The solar wing housed private quarters for the Lord and Lady of the castle. A later Great Chamber wing took over that function, and parts of the solar wing were converted into a storeroom and buttery, or a food storage area. The kitchen was in an entirely separate building, which was inconvenient but lessened the ever-present risk of fire. The original medieval buildings were rebuilt by the Council of the Marches in the early 16th century, when the Great Chamber wing became the private residence of the Lord President of the Council. The Great Hall was kept, but the fireplaces were inserted along the walls to replace the central hearth. Ludlow's location in the turbulent Welsh marches led to inevitable conflict. In 1138, supporters of Queen Maud held Ludlow against King Stephen. The king laid siege to the castle but was unable to take it. A fascinating story of the siege tells us that one of the defenders threw a grappling hook down from the gatehouse tower. The hook snared the son of the King of Scotland, who was fighting with Stephen's army. He was about to be hauled up the wall into captivity when King Stephen himself rescued him. In the mid-12th century, 3 powerful Marcher lords claimed the castle: Walter de Lacy, Hugh de Mortimer and Joyce de Dinan. Joyce rode out to ambush and capture Mortimer, but in his absence, de Lacy marched in and occupied the castle. Dinan, in turn, laid siege to Ludlow, but could not dislodge the de Lacy garrison. Roger Mortimer inherited Ludlow in 1316, and many of the other domestic buildings within the Inner Bailey were erected during his ownership. Mortimer was executed in 1330 by Edward III, but the Mortimer family retained their estates. The male line died out in 1425, and Ludlow was granted to Richard, the Duke of York. During the Wars of the Roses, the Duke's soldiers suffered a heavy defeat at Ludford Bridge, just outside the town, and Ludlow Castle was sacked. But better days were ahead. When Richard's son took the throne as Edward IV, Ludlow became the administrative centre of the Council of the Marches. Edward sent his youngest son, also named Edward, to Ludlow to act as a royal figurehead in the region, but Edward and his elder brother Richard, the princes in the Tower, were kept here before they removed to the Tower of London. After the Tudors took the throne, Henry VII sent his heir, Alfred, to Ludlow, just as Edward IV had done before him. Sadly, Arthur died at Ludlow, leaving the throne to his younger brother, Henry VIII. Perhaps most poignantly, it was here that Arthur, the Prince of Wales, Henry VIII's elder brother, brought his bride, Catherine of Aragon, after their wedding. When Arthur died within these walls in 1502, the trajectory of English history shifted forever, leading to Henry's reign, the Reformation, and the creation of the Church of England. The castle would sustain heavy damage during the Civil War, but the Council of the Marches continued to use it as their base until the council was abolished in 1689. Today the apartments are an empty shell. The roofs and floors are since gone, although they did survive into the 19th century. The exposed stone walls, some covered in moss and lichen, look bleak, and it is hard to see how Ludlow Castle could be viewed as palatial. However, it most certainly was in its day. The configuration of rooms into private suites heralded the latest in residential fashion for the regal of the medieval period, and so today's time traveller would reimagine its splendour. The walls plastered, covered in the rich hues of finely carved oak panelling, with expensive tapestries hung thereabouts, the chambers warmed and brought to life by the flames dancing in the hearths of the many open fireplaces. It must come with no surprise that the layers of tragedy at Ludlow Castle have birthed a collection of eerie legends that local residents still swear by today. Come 1139, Ludlow Castle had been held against Stephen by the Lady Sybil, the widow of Payne Fitzjohn, who died in 1137. In an effort to secure Ludlow Castle to his cause, Stephen married Sybil to a man deemed loyal, named Joyce de Dinan. However, perhaps convinced by his new bride, Dinan betrayed the trust of Stephen and fortified Ludlow against the king. A lady named Marion de la Bruyere was part of the retinue of Ludlow Castle. She is a lady in love with Walter de Lacy, a knight who did side with supporters of the king. Despite her lover's animosity with her lord of the castle, Marion secreted her lover into the castle walls by hanging down a rope for him to climb. This was where the lovers could reunite. All would be well until de Dinan is called away from the castle. On that ill-fated night, Marion lowers her rope for her lover, and unbeknownst to her, Arnold leaves it hanging down behind him. In darkness, Gilbert de Lacy and over 100 men breached the castle walls, and Ludlow Castle was taken. Seeing her love betrayed, used for ill gain, and racked by guilt at the loss of the castle, Marion takes up her lover's sword and uses it upon him. She kills Arnold in her own bed as he sleeps. The ghastly deed of a lover's murder done, Marion climbs up the high penned-over tower and throws herself down onto sharp and ugly rocks down below. She will not live with her deeds, but she certainly dies with them. Or does she? They say in Ludlow that Marion's ghostly figure might still be seen in the ruins at dusk. And on the anniversary of her suicide, you can still hear her scream as she plummets to her death. There are other ghosts in Ludlow, but Marion's story does take some beating. So next time you're there and near the castle, do look out and listen for her. Many believe her ghost also haunts the nearby castle lodge, appearing as a teenage girl in a Tudor dress, perhaps still mourning the life she expected before Prince Arthur's death. Some claim she is looking for the heart of Arthur, which was buried in St. Lawrence's Church, whilst his body was taken to Worcester. Other tales include a spectral drummer that is occasionally heard echoing from the gatehouse towers. Legend says he was a soldier who died during the Civil War, and his phantom drumming is an omen that appears before major local tragedies or changes in the castle's ownership. But beyond the ghosts, the castle is rumoured to hide a more tangible secret. Folklore speaks of a golden frieze, or a hidden royalist treasure that was buried deep within the wells or secret passages during the English Civil War. Whilst no gold has ever been recovered, the castle's intricate network of cellars and subterranean storage areas continues to fuel the imagination of treasure hunters and historians alike. Ludlow Castle is far more than a haunting silhouette against the Shropshire sky. It's a rare, breathing blend of regal history and a vibrant community hub. It has survived sieges, royal scandals, and its relentless slow decay of time, yet it remains the undeniable soul of its town. Walking through the grounds now, the contrast is completely electric. Where medieval knights once plotted, you might now find a bustling food festival, celebrating local produce, or an open-air Shakespeare production, utilising the natural acoustics of the Great Hall. The castle no longer separates the English from the Welsh. Instead, it brings people together to appreciate the rugged beauty of the marches. It's a place where history isn't just kept behind the glass, it's lived in, walked through and felt in each weathered stone. So that's it for this week, and we really hope that you've enjoyed our walkthrough at Ludlow Castle. If you have, please be sure to hit on that like button, click the notification bell to never miss updates or videos, and why not think about subscribing to the channel. We'd love to give a big thank you to our channel supporters and Patreons who week on week support our journey. And if you are interested at all, have a look down in the description box down below, or click on that join button. So we'll see you on the next one. Till next time.